got some difficulties, obviously, the whole student loan program, because of it's tied up in some of the financial mess we have. So I believe that quality education with encouragement specifically for math, engineering, and science students is very important. I also think that we have to, again, go into this choice and competition in K through 12. The reason why our colleges do as well as they do, and they still, it's the highest quality education in the world, is because they compete with one another. Student graduates from high school with very good grades, that there are colleges and universities that compete for that student to come there. But I think the first thing we got to do is review the entire system to make sure that every eligible student receives a affordable education. And one of the subsets of that is, of course, our veterans. We hopefully have reached an agreement where we can provide increased educational benefits for our veterans who have earned it. So I would like to see in the long term incentivizing students to go into the math, science, and engineering specialties. I also think I would like to go back in some ways to the pre-9/11 situation where we can make it more accessible to foreign students who come to this country to study, many of whom remain in this country and contribute a great deal to our economy. I don't know if that's your entry into this country was an educational purpose, but I think you're an example of the enormous payback there is to the United States of America, who are very, very highly qualified and receive quality educations and then remain here and contribute so much to our economy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my question, Senator. On the phone, I identified myself as a strong Democrat, and they invited me anyway, so I do appreciate that. You spoke of long-term commitments that we're going to have to make as a country, and one of them I would like you to expand on is not only the educational commitments to our veterans, but I'm a veteran of the Iraq War from 2003 and 2004, and God willing, I came home in one piece, and all my soldiers came home in one piece. We were very, very fortunate, but not all of them are, obviously. And the trend over the past 8 years has been very, very disturbing with how both the administration and Congress has handled financing and the issues surrounding veterans' health care. What are you going to do to support the veterans that have earned? Is there any way we can really pay them back? I don't think so. But they have certainly earned the highest standard of care they can receive, and right now I think there are some great, great difficulties they are facing. How would you handle that?
Thank you for your service to our country. I believe that we need to first applaud the people who work in the Veterans Administration. They're dedicated healthcare providers and wonderful people. But the problem is, as you well know, they don't have the capacity, the equipment, many of the things that are necessary to provide sufficient healthcare for our veterans. I would like to see the Veterans Administration and military medical care focus on treatment of PTSD, and there's a lot of PTSD out of this conflict, my friends, and combat-related injuries and wounds, because they're the best at that. They're the best at that kind of treatment. And then for the average veteran who simply has a routine health care need, I would like to see them be able to not have to go down to the VA and stand in line to get an appointment. If it's a routine health care need, I'd like to give them a plastic card, and they can go to any doctor or health care provider of their choice and get treatment immediately. I think that would relieve the burden on the VA and the medical health care system so they can focus on what they're best at and not have our veterans stand in line. My friends, there's no point in that. So, would you like to follow up?
No, I think you've answered it.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Senator McCain, thank you again for coming to Minnesota. Recently, up in the 6th District, our Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann has made a pledge to move towards $2 a gallon gas. What do you think? Have you seen her proposals, and what do you think of that as we deal with this, the prices at the gas pump right now?
I eagerly look forward to seeing that plan. I'll try to read it tonight. I think we achieve that through, as our earlier discussion, the only way we're going to achieve that is through eliminating our dependence on imported oil, or at least reducing it so dramatically that we are no longer subject to the vagaries of an oil cartel. The world's oil supply, as you well know, is controlled by a small number of nations, and they can basically set the price. And in addition to that, there are growing demands on this finite resource from India and China, both dramatically growing economies. So I don't believe, I'm serious, I'm glad that Congresswoman Bach is concentrating on this issue, and I'd look forward to seeing her proposal. But I only see that we have to exploit existing reserves. That's why I said what I said about offshore natural gas and oil exploration, and also going as fast as we can, as hard as we can, to alternate energy sources. I'd like to tell you that we will see the price of oil go back down even dramatically, but I don't envision that scenario right now, at least in the short term. But if we eliminate our demand, one, we don't care what they set the price of oil at, and two, we will be able to then to relieve some of the pressures. So I will look forward to seeing all of those proposals, and I'm glad that she is involved in this issue so heavily. I'm a great admirer, by the way. So, but I think that, as I said before, we tell the American people it's a great challenge. They'll meet it, but it's going to take a lot of work to do it. And I look forward to seeing her proposal. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just to follow up on that, some of your Democratic counterparts have proposed essentially nationalizing some of the oil off the coast. What do you think of what they've said about that?
I would not agree with that, but I would, as an incentive to states, I would offer them a much larger share of the revenues than they're presently getting. And I think that would incentivize them to appreciate and have more of a stake in it. You may have noticed that the governor of the state of Florida said, after I said we ought to do that, supported such a proposal. And I saw a recent poll where most of the citizens of Florida said that that would be a good thing to do. I don't know how the other states feel. You know that Louisiana, Texas, they have done it. And also, with the technology we have today, they can go pretty far offshore into certain areas, and there would be, and also I think they have a proven record of being environmentally pretty good. Hurricanes Katrina and Rita hit both off Louisiana and Texas, and there was not appreciable oil spills. So I think we can make a case that it's pretty environmentally sound, the technology that they have today. But I had not heard of a proposal to nationalize our oil and gas reserves. Yes, sir.
One thing that you mentioned earlier, Senator McCain, was that you're a straight talker, and you tell people what they want to hear and also what they don't want to hear. And I think I've lost a lot of faith in politicians because I believe they know what they want to do, and then they try to spin the story so that it comes out sounding like what we want to hear. And so, with all due respect, I kind of want to challenge you to tell us some of the things we don't want to hear. And that's not really a fair thing to do in a campaign, but at the same time, you kind of set yourself up for it.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me say